which you can find on our website, opendebates.org, and in my book, you see that the candidates specifically decide who will and will not participate in the debates. If our organization, our replacement, the Citizens Debate Commission, which is comprised of 17 national civic leaders from the left, center, and right of the political spectrum, and has 60 civic groups on its advisory board, if the Citizens Debate Commission hosts the 2004 presidential debates, any candidate that is on enough state ballots to win an electoral college majority and either reaches 5% in pre-debate polls or polls show that a majority of Americans want to see that candidate will be included. And it seems that Ralph Nader would likely meet that criteria, and he would likely be invited to our Citizens Debate Commission's presidential debates. Our criteria exist to ensure that the American people are able to see the candidates they want to see without drowning out the voices of the leading contenders for the presidency.
From a 1996 Philadelphia Inquirer editorial cartoon, the symbol of the Democratic and Republican parties, the elephant and the donkey. The elephant saying, "Would a third party spoil the fun?" The donkey representing the Democrats. My sentiments exactly. Next call is Coleman, Alabama. Good morning.
Yes. I just wanted to say that I've been looking over the ballots.
Call you there? He hung up, so we'll go on to Bedford, Texas. Good morning to you.
Good morning. I'm really glad that you're doing something like this. These debates that they've been holding are more like a game show, kind of like the bombing of thousands and thousands of human lives were done on Fox and a lot of the other local news channels. But anyway, if we had a better, true debate done on the 2000 presidential elections, we would have seen the style of lying by omission, for example, that George Bush does. Living here in Texas, we knew, some of us, that, for example, the Patient Bill of Rights that was, quote, passed here was not signed by George Bush, but rather it laid on his desk collecting dust until it passed by operation of law. And instead, George Bush lied by omission when asked that question in the third presidential debate, and said, why, sure, he supports a national patient bill of rights, just like the one we have in Texas. He supported that one, too. Well, it also happened to be gutted by the Fifth Circuit, who has a lot of Bush and Reagan appointees, when they took out the most meaningful provision that said that you had a right to external review of denials for treatment reimbursement.
Thank you for the call. We'll get a response. George Farah?
When you have third-party candidates excluded, when you have moderators handpicked, when you have candidates prohibiting themselves from talking to each other, when you have follow-up questions abolished, then you have candidates who can say whatever they want, however erroneous, however deceptive, without being held accountable, without anybody challenging during the presidential debates. This is not how the debates will run from 1976 until 1984, when the League of Women Voters hosted the presidential debates. In 1980, they had the courage to include John B. Anderson in the presidential debates, despite President Carter's vociferous opposition. And in 1984, when Walter Mondale and Ronald Reagan vetoed 68 proposed panelists by the League of Women Voters to ask questions, the League of Women Voters held a press conference, and they lambasted the candidates for, quote, totally abusing the process. And as a result, the candidates accepted the League's panelists for the next presidential debate. The League of Women Voters fought on behalf of the public interest. When the candidates defied the wishes of the American people, the League would go public. Our Citizens Debate Commission aspires to do the same thing. The Commission on Presidential Debates, however, exists to allow the candidates to control the process and to shield them from public criticism.
The book is called No Debate: How the Republican and Democratic Parties Secretly Control the Presidential Debates. George Farah is the author. Decatur, Alabama, our next caller. Good morning.
Good morning. How would you suggest we as citizens move this process? Because I firmly agree. And I don't hear a caller that's disagreed with you. And yet I feel impotent to even change things. How would you suggest we make a change? I'll listen to your answer off the air.
Thank you for the question, ma'am. You're right. This is an issue that has extraordinary widespread support. It's not a liberal, conservative, or centrist issue. It's an American issue. I almost never, on any radio show I've ever been on, ever receive a hostile call. You have power. Everybody listening to this show and watching this show has power. The candidates will only participate in our Citizens Debate Commission's presidential debates if it serves their political interest. And that means that rejecting our debates would be costly. If they know that the American people want the Republican Democratic nominees to participate in real debates that include candidates the American people want to see, even if they're not Republicans or Democrats, and include challenging formats and include a broad array of issues, then those candidates will be forced to participate in those debates. Debates are so institutionalized in America at this point that if you're seen dodging presidential debates, real debates, you will suffer in the polls. The first President Bush suffered dramatically in the polls when he tried to avoid presidential debates. President George W. Bush suffered in 2000 when he proposed alternate debates on cable television. The media attacked him, the voters attacked him. They could see right through his attempts to avoid real debates on live television. So if our debates can be perceived as the real presidential debates, the American people are on our side, we will win. And to specifically help our campaign, please log on to opendebates.org. We have petition signatures. You can create your own local Open Debates chapters. You can write letters to the editor. Spread the word. We will succeed to the extent we can organize the American people to exert pressure on the candidates. They are on our side. And last Monday, when we announced sites for 5 presidential and 1 vice presidential debates, the competition for the big debates began.
From page 130, another point from the book Major Party Convergence, the CPD, Commission on Presidential Debates, cannot be held principally responsible for the narrowing of the debate discourse. 2 broad political shifts have taken place within the two-party system over the last 25 years, a convergence towards the ideological center and a convergence towards money. The two parties also are becoming less distinguishable as their funding sources increasingly overlap.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. When you have no threat from the outside, Republicans, Democratic parties can assume that they will control the process for decades to come if the presidential debates are not open, if our ballot access laws are not made more rational, if the media doesn't address more coverage of third-party challengers. The candidates are able to focus all their attention on the minority of voters in swing states and are able to raise unlimited amounts of corporate dollars and union dollars to influence their campaign process. Third-party challengers, it doesn't matter where they are on the political spectrum, be it Harry Brown, Libertarian Party, Ralph Nader, the Green Party, former Reform Party candidate Pat Buchanan, they're all extraordinarily critical of how the Republican Democratic parties have increasingly become subject to corporate and union influence by their extraordinary multi-million-dollar contributions to the parties. When these third-party voices are stifled, when independent voices are stifled and cannot raise this issue on the platform, cannot make it politically costly to accept those contributions, this will continue. Again, I state in the book, of course, you just read, that the Commission on Presidential Debates merely sponsors debates. It's not responsible for these broad political shifts. But when it excludes third-party voices that will raise these issues, that will say you should not be raising so much money from lobbyists in Washington, you should be running a clean election campaign, it will become politically costly.
Next call is from Douglasville, Georgia. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Memorial Day, by the way.
And to you too.
Thank you.
I would like to just kind of address this and maybe see how you feel about it. Basically, now I feel like we don't have a democracy. We have either a Democratic Party or Republican government, or Democratic government, by the way. And I think that they're putting us at risk. They're putting the American people at risk, whether it be at home and whether it be overseas, with all of the controversy that we have going on now. It seems that they will go to no ends, and it's vice versa. I'm not going to say one wouldn't do it if the other one wasn't in office, let's say that. Basically, I feel this is such a structured, just like you're having to go through this and pinpoint and say, look, this is what's going on. I had no idea, because their behavior is so erratic publicly, whether, you're watching them and just seeing what they're doing, their behavior is not patriotic, is nothing to be proud of. And I find that this isn't a very patriotic, we have patriotic people in this country, but we're few and far between, just like we're not educated.
Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Caller, you said that you had no idea this was going on. That is a critical point. What we find, where my organization, Open Debates, which is the advocacy organization, and Citizen Debate Commission, which is the